The massive chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with 1,000 different sounds. Translators buzzed, converting alien speech into comprehensible language. The air smelled of chemicals and strange perfumes from 100 different worlds. Creatures of every imaginable shape filled the tiered seats, all of them waiting for the newcomers to arrive. Earth had been discovered only 2 years ago. The galactic community had watched with mild interest as this small blue planet sent out its primitive radio signals into space. When human ships finally achieved faster-than-light travel, the Council had extended an invitation. It was standard procedure for all new species, but the invitation came with a price. Ambassador Threll stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing dramatically. His species, the Cassians, had been part of the Council for over 3,000 years. He spoke with the authority of age and experience. "The Vakith swarm approaches the neutral zone," Threll announced, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Every species must contribute to the defense. This is not a request, this is galactic law." The assembled delegates murmured their agreement. The Vakith were a plague, a biomechanical horror that consumed everything in their path. They appeared every few decades, and every time the galaxy had to unite to push them back. "The minimum contribution is 50 warships," Threll continued. "Any species that fails to meet this requirement will lose trade privileges and council protection." The Kori delegation, amphibious beings from a water world, rippled their approval. The Vren, crystalline creatures that communicated through light pulses, flickered in agreement. Even the smaller species nodded along. 50 ships was reasonable. Most species sent hundreds. Then the human response arrived. The holographic display activated above the central podium. A simple message appeared, transmitted from Earth across the vast distances of space. The Council members leaned forward to read it. "The United Earth Defense Force acknowledges the request for military support. We are sending the KDSS Taiwan to the designated coordinates. Captain Doyen commands. We stand ready to defend the neutral zone." Silence filled the chamber for exactly 3 seconds. Then the laughter began. It started with a few scattered chuckles from the smaller delegations. Then it grew. The Cassians bellowed with amusement. The Kori made wet, gurgling sounds that passed for laughter in their species. Even the normally serious Vren pulsed with colors that indicated humor. "One ship?" Threll gasped between laughs. "They send one ship?" "Perhaps they misunderstood the message," suggested a delegate from the insectoid Thren collective. "Or perhaps they have no ships to spare," another voice called out. Primitive species often overestimate their capabilities. The laughter continued for several minutes. Some delegates recorded the message to share with their homeworlds. The arrogance of these humans would be remembered as a moment of cosmic comedy. Only a few beings did not laugh. In the upper galleries, a representative from the ancient keepers observed silently. The keepers rarely spoke in council sessions, preferring to watch and record. But those who knew them well noticed that their observer did not share the general amusement. 3 months passed. The galactic fleets assembled at the neutral zone. The Cassian Empire brought 200 warships, massive vessels bristling with weapons. The Kori contributed 150 ships, each one designed for both space and underwater combat. The Vren fleet numbered 80 ships, but each one was a masterpiece of energy manipulation. Dozens of other species arrived with their contributions. Soon over 2,000 ships filled the designated defense zone. They organized themselves into battle formations, each fleet taking assigned positions based on tactical requirements. And then the human ship arrived. The KDSS Taiwan dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the formation. Immediately, every sensor in the fleet locked onto it. The alien commanders studied the newcomer with professional interest. It was not an impressive sight. The Taiwan measured approximately 300 meters long, smaller than most galactic cruisers. Its hull was dark gray, marked with white letters and numbers that meant nothing to alien observers. The ship had a blocky, utilitarian design that suggested function over aesthetics. "That is their contribution?" a Cassian fleet commander asked over the tactical channel. "A single light cruiser?" "I am detecting unusual power signatures," reported a Kori sensor officer. "Their reactor output seems disproportionate to their size." "Probably compensating for inferior technology," another voice suggested. The Taiwan requested coordinates and was assigned a position on the far left flank of the formation. It was a relatively unimportant position, suitable for a small vessel. The ship moved into place and went silent. On the bridge of the Taewon, Captain Doyen sat in his command chair and watched the tactical display. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment for 3 years, ever since Earth had decided to reach for the stars. "All systems green," reported Lieutenant Ji-won from the tactical station. She was young, only 28, but she had graduated top of her class from the Defense Academy. "Weapons hot, shields at full capacity. Engineering reports ready," added Engineer Hyejin over the intercom. "Reactors stable at 100%. I can push to 150 if needed, Captain." Doyen nodded. "Maintain standard power for now. Jiho status on weapons?" Weapons Officer Jiho looked up from his console. "All railguns loaded and calibrated. Missile tubes ready. Point defense systems online. We have full ammunition stores." "Good." Doyen turned to his communications officer. "Sora, are we receiving tactical data from the fleet?" Sora adjusted her earpiece. "Yes, sir. The command network is sharing sensor information. I am also monitoring the general communication channels." She paused, then added quietly, "They are still making jokes about us, Captain." "Let them," Doyen said simply. "Words mean nothing. Actions matter." Navigator Yunji plotted backup courses on her display. "Captain, I have mapped 17 different escape vectors in case we need to withdraw quickly." "We will not be withdrawing," Doyen replied. His voice was calm but firm. "We hold our position no matter what comes." Medical Officer Junho entered the bridge carrying a medical kit. "I have prepared the medical bay for casualties. We have supplies for sustained combat operations." Doyen stood and walked to the main viewport. Outside, he could see the vast array of alien warships. Each one represented a civilization older and more experienced than humanity. Each one probably thought the humans were fools. Maybe they were right. Earth had only 48 warships total. Sending one to fight alongside thousands seemed like madness. But Earth had its reasons. Every human ship was built differently than galactic vessels. Earth did not have the luxury of large fleets or ancient weapons technology. So human engineers had designed something else. They had created ships that could fight alone, that could survive against impossible odds, that could punch far above their weight class. The Taewon was not just a ship. It was a statement. "All hands, this is the captain," Doyen announced over the ship-wide intercom. "We are about to face an enemy that the galaxy has fought for thousands of years. They expect us to fail. They think one human ship cannot make a difference." He paused. "Show them they are wrong." In the engineering section, Hyejin smiled and checked her systems one more time. In the weapons bay, Jiho ran final diagnostics on the railguns. Throughout the ship, the crew of 120 men and women prepared themselves. They were human. They were alone among aliens. They were outnumbered and outgunned. And they were exactly where they wanted to be. The waiting continued. In the command centers of the various fleets, officers placed bets on how long the human ship would survive. Most estimated less than 5 minutes once combat began. A few generous souls gave them 10. None of them understood what was coming. None of them knew what humans were truly capable of. The galaxy would learn soon enough. The sensors detected them first. Across 2,000 ships, alarm systems activated simultaneously. The Vakith swarm had arrived, and they had arrived in force. The display screens filled with red markers, each one representing an enemy vessel. The count climbed rapidly. 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 Vakith bioships emerged from the darkness of space. They looked like nightmares made real. Each bioship was a twisted fusion of organic matter and mechanical components. Bone-white armor plating covered pulsing flesh. Weapons grew from their hulls like tumors. They moved with disturbing fluidity, more like swimming creatures than spacecraft. The Vakith did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply attacked. "All ships engage." The command came from the Cassian flagship. The galactic fleet surged forward in organized formations. Energy beams lanced through space. Missiles streaked toward their targets. The battle had begun. On the bridge of the Taewon, Captain Doyen watched the tactical display with cold focus. The Vakith were concentrating their attack on the center of the galactic formation, exactly as predicted. The human ship sat on the left flank, seemingly forgotten. "Lieutenant Jiwon, analysis," Doyen commanded. Jiwon's fingers danced across her console. "The Vakith are using swarm tactics, overwhelming individual ships with numbers. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based, medium range. Their armor shows weak points at the joint sections. Jiho, can we exploit those weak points? Weapons Officer Jiho grinned. It was not a pleasant expression. Absolutely, sir. Our railguns have the precision. Then let us introduce ourselves. All weapons prepare to fire. Yunji, take us into combat range. Navigator Yunji's hands moved across her controls. The Taewon's engines flared bright blue, and the ship accelerated forward. It moved faster than the alien commanders expected, crossing the distance in seconds. We are being hailed by the Cassian fleet commander, Sora reported. He is asking why we are breaking formation. Tell him we are engaging the enemy, Doyen replied. Jiho, fire when ready. The Taewon opened fire. The main railgun was humanity's answer to energy weapons. It used electromagnetic force to accelerate a solid projectile to incredible speeds. The laws of physics did the rest. When a tungsten slug weighing 5 kilograms hit a target at 30% the speed of light, the results were catastrophic. The first shot punched completely through a Vakith bioship. The creature-machine hybrid did not explode. It simply ceased to exist in the middle, the front and back sections tumbling away separately. Target destroyed, Jiho reported. Acquiring next target, the Taewon fired again. And again. And again. Each shot found its mark. The railgun could fire once every 2 seconds, and Jiho did not miss. The alien fleets noticed. In the command center of the Cassian flagship, Fleet Commander Vrax watched his display in disbelief. The small human vessel had destroyed 6 Vakith ships in under a minute. That was more than some of his cruisers managed in an entire engagement. What kind of weapons are those? He demanded. His sensor officer studied the readings. Unknown technology, Commander. They appear to be launching physical projectiles, but at velocities we have never recorded before. Impossible. No species uses kinetic weapons in space combat. Too slow, too easy to dodge. These are not slow, Commander. The Taewon continued its assault. Now the Vakith noticed the threat and began to concentrate fire on the human ship. Plasma bolts converged from multiple directions. Incoming fire, Jiwon announced calmly. 23 projectiles, multiple vectors. Activate point defense, Doyen ordered. What happened next made the watching aliens question their understanding of defensive systems. The Taewon's hull erupted with thousands of small turrets. They fired in perfect synchronization, creating a sphere of depleted uranium around the ship. The Vakith plasma bolts hit the defensive barrier and dissipated. Not one shot reached the Taewon shields. Point defense is very effective, Captain, Sora said with satisfaction. We have neutralized 100% of incoming fire. Maintain defensive screen. Heejin, status on shields? From engineering, Heejin's voice came through clearly despite the background noise of machinery. Shields are holding at 98%. We have not even been touched yet, sir. The Taewon dove deeper into the Vakith formation. It moved like a fighter craft despite its size, spinning and rolling through patterns that should have been impossible for a ship of its mass. Yunji guided them through the chaos with precision that bordered on precognitive. How are they maneuvering like that? A Cory captain asked over the command channel. Their inertial dampening must be incredible. Or their crew is being crushed by G-forces, another voice suggested darkly. Inside the Taewon, the crew did feel the strain. The ship's maneuvering pushed human tolerances to the limit, but they had trained in high-gravity environments. They had prepared for this. Junyo monitored everyone's vital signs from medical, ready to intervene if anyone showed signs of distress. Another group of Vakith breaking off from the main formation, Jiwon reported. 15 ships heading toward the Vren fleet. Doyen made a quick decision. Intercept course. We will support the Vren. The Taewon changed direction with startling speed. It placed itself between the Vakith attackers and the crystalline Vren ships. The railgun fired continuously now, each shot carefully calculated to maximize damage. But Jiho had more than just the railgun. Launching missiles, he announced. The Taewon's missile tubes opened. What emerged were not the simple explosive projectiles most species used. These were hunter-killers, smart weapons with AI guidance systems and adaptive targeting. Each missile had one purpose: find the enemy and destroy it. The missiles spread out, each one selecting a different Vakith ship. They accelerated, dodged return fire, and struck with devastating accuracy. 12 missiles. 12 kills. The Vakith formation broke apart in confusion. They had never encountered weapons like this. The remaining 3 ships tried to flee. They are running, G1 observed. Should we pursue? Negative. Return to the main battle. There are more targets that need our attention. The Taiwan swung back toward the center of the combat zone. Behind them, the Vren fleet transmitted a message of gratitude in pulses of light. Sora translated it for the crew. 30 minutes into the battle, the galactic fleets had destroyed approximately 300 Vakith ships. The Taiwan alone had destroyed 97. The laughter had stopped completely. Now the alien commanders watched the human vessel with a mixture of awe and fear. They sent urgent messages to their home worlds, requesting information about human military capabilities. The responses were all the same. No data available. Earth had kept its secrets well. Captain, the Cassian commander is requesting tactical coordination, Sora reported. He wants to know our capabilities and limitations. Doyun considered this. Tell him we have sufficient ammunition for extended engagement, and our weapons are effective against Vakith armor. Offer to share targeting data. Within minutes, the Taiwan's tactical computer was linked to the Cassian fleet network. Jiwan began feeding them information about Vakith weak points, optimal firing solutions, and attack patterns. The alien ships started scoring more kills as they adapted human tactics, but the battle was far from over. A massive Vakith command ship emerged from the back of their formation. It dwarfed everything else on the battlefield, easily 2 kilometers long. Its hull bristled with weapons, and it was heading straight for the center of the galactic fleet. That is a crisis-class bioship, G1 said quietly. Intelligence reports say they appear once every major Vakith assault. Extremely dangerous. Can we damage it? Doyen asked. Jiho studied his weapons display. The railgun will hurt it, but I do not think we can destroy it alone. We would need sustained fire from multiple ships. Then we make the opportunity for sustained fire. Yunji, plot an attack run. Get us close. Sir? Yunji turned in her chair. Close to that thing? Extremely close. I want to be within 100 meters of its hull. The bridge crew exchanged glances. What the captain was suggesting was insanity. At that range, they would be within reach of all the command ship's weapons. They would be unable to dodge effectively, but they were human. Insanity was sometimes the best strategy. Yes, sir, Yunji said firmly. Plotting attack run now. The Taiwan broke away from the main battle and accelerated toward the Vakith command ship. Every sensor in the fleet tracked its movement. What are the humans doing? Vrax demanded. His tactical officer had no answer. They appear to be attacking the command ship alone. Recall them. They will be destroyed. But the Taiwan did not respond to recall orders. It simply continued its impossible charge. One small ship against a monster heading straight into the jaws of death. And the galaxy watched in silent amazement. The Vakith command ship detected the approaching human vessel and responded with overwhelming force. Dozens of weapon ports opened across its massive hull. Plasma cannons, biomissile launchers, and acid projectors all targeted the tiny Taiwan. Incoming fire, Jiwan announced, her voice steady despite the danger. Estimated 200 projectiles. Impact in 15 seconds. Hyejin, I need everything the reactor can give us, Doyen commanded. Jiho, point defense to maximum. Yunji, evasive pattern Delta 7. In the engineering section deep within the ship, Hyejin grabbed the reactor control interface and began overriding safety protocols. Warning lights flashed red across her console. The reactor's output climbed. 110%, 120, 130. We are pushing into dangerous territory, Captain, she called out over the intercom. The background noise of straining machinery nearly drowned out her voice. If we maintain this for too long, we risk a core breach. Understood. Just keep us running. The Taiwan twisted through space like a living thing. Yunji's hands moved faster than thought, inputting commands that sent the ship into rolls, dives, and sudden direction changes. The inertial dampeners struggled to compensate. Throughout the ship, crew members gripped their stations as gravity fluctuated wildly. Jiho's point defense system fired continuously. The small turrets created a storm of metal around the ship, intercepting most of the incoming fire. But not all of it. Some shots got through. Plasma bolts struck the shields. The defensive barrier flared bright blue, absorbing the impacts. The shield strength dropped, 90%, 85, 80. Shields holding, G1 reported. But they will not last forever. They just need to last long enough, Doyen replied calmly. Distance to target? 3,000 meters in closing. 2,000. 1,000. The Taiwan shot past the outer weapons and drove deep into the command ship's defensive perimeter. At this range, the massive Vakith vessel could not bring most of its weapons to bear without hitting itself. The human ship had created a blind spot through sheer audacity. 500 meters. 200. 100 meters, sir. Full stop. Hold this position. The Taiwan's engines flared, bringing the ship to a relative halt just meters from the command ship's hull. The alien vessel's surface looked like a landscape of twisted metal and pulsing organic tissue. Weapon ports the size of buildings gaped open like mouths. Jiho, you have your target. Make every shot count. Yes, sir. Jiho's grin had returned. At this range, he could not miss. His fingers moved across the weapons console with practiced ease. Firing. The railgun spoke. At point-blank range, the tungsten slugs punched through the command ship's armor like paper. Each impact created massive internal damage. Jiho did not fire randomly. He targeted specific points that Jiwan had identified. Power conduits, weapon systems, structural supports. The command ship shuddered with each hit. It tried to shake off the human vessel, rolling its massive bulk, but the Taiwan stayed close, matching every movement. Secondary explosions detected inside the target. Jiwan reported. We are causing significant damage. Across the battlefield, the alien fleets watched in amazement. The small human ship clung to the Vakith command vessel like a parasite, tearing it apart from close range. It was a tactic no one had ever seen before. It was reckless. It was brilliant. All ships concentrate fire on the command ship, Vrax ordered. The humans have given us an opening. Energy beams from hundreds of ships converged on the massive Vakith vessel. With the Taiwan marking the weak points, the galactic fleet knew exactly where to aim. The command ship's armor cracked and split under the combined assault, but the Vakith were not finished. Smaller bioships broke off from the main swarm and headed for the Taiwan. If they could not shake the human vessel, they would destroy it with numbers. 20 ships approached from different angles, too many for the point defense to handle alone. Captain, we have a problem, Jiwan said quietly. Doyun saw it immediately on the tactical display. They were in danger of being surrounded. If they stayed at this position, they would be overwhelmed. But if they retreated, the command ship would have time to recover. He made his decision in seconds. Sora, send a message to the Vren fleet. Request fire support on these coordinates. He highlighted the approaching Vakith ships. Unji, prepare to move. When I give the order, take us underneath the command ship's hull. Use it as cover. Sir, the clearance is very tight, Yunji protested. I am not sure we can fit. Make us fit. That is an order. The Vren responded instantly. Their energy weapons were perfectly suited for precision strikes. Beams of coherent light lanced across space, intercepting the approaching Vakith ships. 15 of them exploded before they could reach firing range. But 5 got through. Brace for impact, Jiwan shouted. The Taiwan's shields took 3 direct hits simultaneously. The barrier collapsed with a flash of failing energy. The 4th shot struck the hull directly, tearing through armor plating on Deck 6. The 5th shot hit the port engine. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Damage reports flooded in from every section. Hull breach on Deck 6. Juno's voice came through the intercom. I am sealing emergency bulkheads. We have casualties. Port engine is offline, Yunji reported, her voice tight with stress. Maneuvering capability reduced by 40%. Shields are down, Jiwan added. Regeneration systems are damaged. It will take time to bring them back online. In engineering, Hijin worked frantically to reroute power from the damaged engine. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits. 2 of her technicians fought a fire near the reactor coolant system. The smell of burning insulation filled the air. I can give you partial maneuvering thrust, she shouted over the chaos. But the port engine is gone. It will take hours to repair, maybe days. Doyun absorbed all this information without panic. The ship was hurt, but it was still fighting. That was all that mattered. Continue firing on the command ship. We finish what we started. The railgun continued its deadly work. Shot after shot slammed into the Vakith vessel's hull. The combined fire from the galactic fleet had opened huge wounds in the command ship's armor. Internal explosions rippled through its structure. Then something changed. The command ship began to glow. A deep purple light emanated from within its hull, growing brighter with each second. Energy spike, Jiwan called out. Massive power buildup in the command ship's core. I think it is preparing to self-destruct. Estimated blast radius? At least 5,000 meters, maybe more.
Captain, we need to leave now.
But the Taewon was damaged. With only one engine, they could not accelerate quickly enough to escape the blast radius. Dorian calculated the odds in his head. They were not good. Yoonji, best speed away from the target. Everyone brace for shockwave. The Taewon limped away from the dying command ship. Its remaining engine burned at maximum output, but it was not enough. The purple glow behind them grew blindingly bright. Across the fleet communication channels, alien voices shouted warnings. Some ships moved to intercept, trying to position themselves between the Taewon and the coming explosion. But they were too far away. In the engineering section, Hijin looked at her reactor controls one more time. She had an idea. It was dangerous. It would probably destroy the reactor, but it might save the ship. Captain, I can give you one more boost, she transmitted. I can overload the reactor completely, channel everything to the remaining engine. It will give us enough speed to escape the blast. What happens to the reactor? It will be permanently damaged. We will be running on emergency power only, but we will be alive. Doyun did not hesitate. Do it. Hyejin's fingers flew across her console, entering override codes that turned the reactor into a controlled bomb. The power output surged. 160%, 180, 200%. The remaining engine blazed like a star. The Taewon shot forward with sudden acceleration that pressed everyone into their seats. Behind them, the Vakith command ship reached critical mass. The explosion lit up the battlefield like a newborn sun. The shockwave radiated outward at incredible speed, tearing apart any Vakith ships that were too close. It expanded toward the fleeing Taewon, a wall of destruction moving faster than anything except light itself. "Hold on!" Yoonji screamed. The shockwave caught them. The Taewon tumbled end over end, its hull screaming under forces it was never designed to withstand. Inside, crew members held onto anything bolted down. Equipment tore loose from moorings. Sparks showered from failing systems. In engineering, the reactor finally gave up. It shut down completely, safety systems engaging to prevent a catastrophic failure. The lights went out. The engines died. Life support switched to emergency batteries. The ship drifted in darkness, silent and still. Then, one by one, the emergency lights flickered to life. Red illumination filled the corridors and compartments. The crew began to move, checking themselves and each other for injuries. "Damage report," Doyun commanded, his voice steady even though his chair had been torn from its mounting. He was standing now, holding onto a railing. The responses came in slowly. "Medical bay here. Multiple casualties but no fatalities. I am treating injured now." That was Junho. "Engineering reporting. Reactors offline. Main power is gone. We are running on batteries only." Hyejin's voice sounded exhausted but determined. "Navigation systems are damaged but functional. I can plot courses, but we have no engines to execute them. Yoonji, weapons are offline. No power." Jiho sounded frustrated. "Communications still working on emergency power. I am receiving messages from the fleet." "Sora." Doyun looked at Lieutenant Jiwon. In the red emergency lighting, her face was serious but calm. "We are adrift, Captain," she said quietly. "No weapons, no shields, no engines. If the Vakith attack now, we cannot defend ourselves." Doyun nodded. Then he smiled. "But we destroyed their command ship. The mission is complete." The Taewon drifted in the darkness of space, a wounded warrior floating among the debris of battle. Inside the ship, the crew worked by emergency lighting, their faces illuminated by the red glow of battery-powered systems. Junho moved through the corridors with his medical kit, treating injured crew members. He found Taejin, a young engineering technician, trapped under a collapsed bulkhead. The kid was barely 22 years old, fresh from the academy, and his leg was badly broken. "This is going to hurt," Junho warned as he administered a painkiller injection. Taejin gritted his teeth. "We won, right? We destroyed the command ship?" "Yes, we did." "Then it was worth it." The young man smiled despite his pain. Junho had treated 17 injured crew members so far. Broken bones, burns, cuts, and concussions, but miraculously no deaths. The ship had been built tough and the crew had been trained well. They had survived the impossible. In engineering, Hyejin sat on the floor surrounded by damaged control panels. Her face was streaked with grease and sweat. Two of her team members worked beside her, trying to coax any additional power from the dying reactor. "We need to restore at least partial power," she muttered, studying a diagnostic readout on a handheld device. "Life support is stable for now, but the batteries will not last more than 6 hours. What about the backup generator?" asked one of her technicians, damaged in the explosion. "I am working on it, but it will take time." Time was something they might not have. Outside the ship, the battle continued. With their command ship destroyed, the Vakith swarm had lost coordination. They fought in smaller groups now, less organized but still dangerous. The galactic fleets pressed their advantage, hunting down the scattered bioships. But some Vakith had noticed the drifting human vessel. A group of 15 bioships broke away from the fighting and headed toward the T1. They moved with predatory purpose, sensing easy prey. On the bridge, G1 watched them approach on the emergency tactical display. The screen flickered and glitched, running on minimal power, but it showed enough. "Captain, we have incoming hostiles. 15 ships closing fast." Doyen stood at his command position, arms crossed. Without power, without weapons, there was little they could do. But he refused to show fear or uncertainty. The crew was watching him, drawing strength from his calm. "Sora, send a distress signal to the fleet. Tell them we need immediate assistance." "Already done, sir." Multiple ships are responding, but they are engaged with other Vakith groups. "The closest friendly ship is 4 minutes away. Time until the Vakith reach us?" 2 minutes, not good. Doyen turned to Jiho. "Weapons officer, do we have any defensive capability at all?" Jiho had been frantically checking his systems. "The point defense turrets have some backup power. I can fire them manually, but it will be limited. Maybe enough to stop a few shots, but not a sustained attack. Then we use what we have. Prepare manual firing protocols." "Yes, sir." Yunji looked up from her station. "Captain, without engines, I cannot maneuver us. We are a sitting target." "I know." Doyen placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did excellent work getting us this far. Now we hold our position and trust in our ship." Throughout the Taiwan, the crew prepared for the final stand. Even injured personnel returned to their stations. Taijin, his leg splinted, insisted on helping in engineering despite Junho's protests. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone chose to face it together. The Vakith ships approached, weapons charging. They spread out in an attack formation, preparing to tear apart the helpless human vessel from multiple angles. Then something unexpected happened. A massive Cassian battlecruiser dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the Vakith and the Taiwan. Its shields flared to full strength, its weapons ports opened, and it unleashed a devastating broadside into the approaching bioships. "This is Commander Vrax of the Cassian Third Fleet," a voice boomed over the communication channel. "All ships protect the human vessel. They have earned our shields." More ships arrived. Cory frigates formed a defensive screen around the Taiwan. Friend cruisers added their firepower to the battle. Even smaller species that had barely acknowledged the humans before now moved to defend them. The 15 Vakith ships found themselves facing not one helpless target, but an entire protective formation. They tried to fight through, but the galactic ships had learned from watching the Taiwan. They used human tactics, targeting weak points, using precision fire instead of overwhelming barrages. Within minutes, all 15 Vakith ships were destroyed. Sora looked up from her console, surprise clear on her face. "Captain, we are receiving dozens of messages. Ships from every species are asking about our status. Some are offering medical assistance. Others want to send repair crews." Doyen felt something unfamiliar. Gratitude from those who had mocked them hours ago. Thank them for their concern. Tell them we are operational on emergency power but would appreciate any assistance they can provide. A Cassian repair ship maneuvered close to the Taiwan and extended a docking tube. Within minutes, alien engineers were aboard, bringing power generators and repair equipment. They worked alongside the human crew without hesitation, communication barriers overcome by shared purpose. A Cory medical team arrived to assist Junho. They brought strange equipment and medicines that worked on biochemistry different from human, but they adapted, learning quickly how to help. Heejin found herself working next to a Cassian engineer who had 4 arms and could operate multiple tools simultaneously. Despite the strangeness, they developed an efficient rhythm, combining human ingenuity with alien experience. "Your reactor design is fascinating," the Cassian engineer commented through a translator device. "Inefficient by our standards, but incredibly resilient. It should have exploded when you overloaded it, but your safety systems prevented catastrophic failure. Hyejin wiped sweat from her forehead. We built it to be abused. Human ships operate on the assumption that we will always push beyond recommended limits. A wise assumption, given what we witnessed today. While repairs continued, the main battle reached its conclusion. The Vakith swarm, leaderless and disorganized, was being systematically eliminated. The galactic fleet had adapted human tactics and was using them with devastating effectiveness. What should have been a difficult, costly battle had become a decisive victory. On the Cassian flagship, Commander Vrax reviewed the battle reports with growing amazement. The human ship had destroyed 147 Vakith vessels before being disabled. That was more than his entire fleet had destroyed in previous engagements. One ship, 147 kills. He opened a communication channel to the Taiwan. Captain Doyen, this is Commander Vrax. I owe you an apology. I laughed when your people sent one ship. I thought it was arrogance or stupidity. I was wrong. On the Taiwan's bridge, Doyen listened to the translation. No apology necessary, Commander. You could not have known our capabilities. Still, I underestimated you. We all did. Vrax paused. I have sent a full report to the Galactic Council. They will want to speak with you about Earth's fleet capabilities. There are questions. I imagine there are. One question in particular that I must ask. If one human ship can do this much damage, how many ships does Earth actually have? Doyen smiled. It was the question he had been waiting for. Commander Vrax, the Taiwan is our smallest class of warship. We have 47 more vessels in active service. 12 are this same class. 20 are heavy cruisers, twice the Taiwan's size and firepower. 10 are carriers that deploy fighter craft. And 5 are dreadnoughts. The silence on the other end of the communication lasted several seconds. 5 dreadnoughts, Vrax repeated slowly. How large are your dreadnoughts, Captain? 2 kilometers long. Each one carries enough firepower to engage a fleet single-handedly. More silence. Doyen could imagine the alien commander processing this information, recalculating every assumption about human military strength. Why did you only send one ship? Vrax finally asked. Because the Council requested 50 ships or equivalent capability. We assessed that the Taiwan alone provided equivalent capability to 50 standard galactic warships. We believed one ship was sufficient. You were not wrong. Vrax's voice held a note of respect that had not been there before. Captain, I would be honored if you would address the fleet commanders once your ship is repaired. Many of us would like to learn from your tactics. I will consider it, Commander. Thank you. The communication ended. Doyen looked around his battered bridge. His crew was exhausted, injured, but unbroken. They had done the impossible. They had proven Earth's worth to a galaxy that had dismissed them. Lieutenant Jiwan approached him quietly. Sir, did we really accomplish our mission with just one ship? We did more than accomplish it. We changed how the galaxy sees humanity. When they look at Earth now, they will not see a primitive species. They will see warriors. They will see equals. Jiwan nodded thoughtfully. And when they ask why we fight so fiercely, Doyen considered this. Outside the viewport, he could see the aftermath of battle. Debris fields damaged ships, the slow work of recovery beginning. He thought about Earth, small and isolated, reaching for the stars with determination that larger civilizations could not understand. We fight fiercely because we have no other choice, he said finally. We are alone in a dangerous galaxy. We cannot rely on vast fleets or ancient technology. We have only ourselves, our ships, and our refusal to surrender. So we build every vessel to fight alone. We train every crew to expect no help. We design every weapon for maximum lethality. Because when you are alone, you must be strong enough to stand by yourself. And if they fear that strength, let them fear. Fear and respect are sometimes the same thing. What matters is that they will never again laugh when humanity arrives with one ship. The repairs continued through the night, if such a concept existed in space. Gradually, the Taiwan came back to life. Emergency lights gave way to normal illumination. Systems rebooted one by one. The reactor, with alien assistance, was coaxed back to minimal functionality. It would take weeks to fully repair the damage. The port engine was completely destroyed and would need to be replaced. The shields required extensive work. Dozens of hull breaches had to be sealed properly. But the ship was alive. The crew was alive, and the mission was complete. As the last Vakith ship was destroyed and the battle officially ended, the galactic fleet organized into formation for the journey home. The Taiwan took its place among them, no longer isolated on the flank but positioned near the center, surrounded by allies. The galaxy had laughed. Now it knew better. 3 days after the battle, the Galactic Council reconvened in emergency session. The massive chamber was filled to capacity. Every delegation had sent representatives. Even species that rarely attended council meetings had come to witness this moment. The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the battle statistics. The numbers told an incredible story. Over 2,000 Vakyth ships destroyed. Minimal losses for the galactic fleet. The most decisive victory against the swarm in recorded history. And at the bottom of the display, a single line that made every delegate pause. KDSS Taiwan, 147 confirmed kills. Ambassador Threll stood at the central podium. His forearms were clasped in front of him, a gesture of respect in Cassian culture. When he spoke, his voice carried none of its previous arrogance. The council recognizes the human delegation. Captain Doyun, you are invited to address this assembly. The holographic projection activated, showing Doyun standing on the bridge of the Taiwan. He wore his dress uniform, dark blue with simple insignia. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations, repairing and maintaining systems. The council could see the damage the ship had sustained, the scorched hull plating, the temporary patches on bulkheads. Doyun nodded respectfully to the assembly. Honorable delegates, I thank you for this opportunity to speak. Captain Doyun, Threll began, the council has reviewed the battle reports extensively. Your ship's performance exceeded all expectations. We have questions. I will answer what I can, Ambassador. A Cori delegate activated their communicator, their translation device converting their gurgling speech into standard galactic. How did you destroy so many enemy vessels? Our largest battleships achieved only 40 or 50 kills during the entire engagement. Doyun chose his words carefully. Human military doctrine emphasizes efficiency and precision. Every shot must count. Every maneuver must have purpose. We cannot afford to waste ammunition or energy because we operate with the assumption of limited resources. But your weapons? A Vren representative pulsed in colors that the translation system rendered as curious inquiry. They use kinetic energy rather than standard plasma or energy beams. Why? Kinetic weapons are simple and reliable. They do not require exotic power sources. A tungsten slug accelerated to sufficient velocity will penetrate any known armor. Physics is universal, regardless of technology level. The Vren flickered thoughtfully, simple yet devastatingly effective. We have underestimated simplicity. Another delegate from the Insectoid Thren Collective spoke next. Your defensive systems neutralized hundreds of attacks. How? Point defense networks using rapid-fire projectile weapons. Again, simple technology applied with precision. Our computers calculate trajectories and intercept incoming fire. It is not perfect, but it is effective. Threll raised one of his 4 hands. Captain, these questions all lead to a larger concern. Earth sent one ship because you claimed it had equivalent capability to 50 standard vessels. Based on what we witnessed, that assessment was accurate, perhaps even conservative. What is your question, Ambassador? How many ships does Earth truly possess? What is humanity's total military strength? The chamber fell silent. Every delegate leaned forward, waiting for the answer. This was the question that mattered. This would determine Earth's position in galactic politics, trade negotiations, and future conflicts. Doyun met Threll's gaze through the holographic projection. Earth currently maintains 48 warships in active service. We have construction facilities capable of producing approximately 12 new vessels per year. Our total military personnel number approximately 200,000 across all services. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some delegates seemed relieved. 48 ships was not a massive fleet by galactic standards. The Cassian Empire alone had over 2,000 vessels, but others understood the real implication. If one small human ship could perform like this, what could 48 do? What could an entire human fleet accomplish? Captain Doyun, Threll continued, I must ask directly, is the Taiwan representative of human military capability? Or is it exceptional? The Taiwan is a Scout-class vessel, our smallest warship design. We have 12 Scout-class ships. The majority of our fleet consists of larger, more heavily armed vessels. The murmurs grew louder. Threll held up a hand for silence. I see. And these larger vessels, they are significantly more powerful than the Taiwan? Our heavy cruiser class is approximately twice the mass and firepower. Our carrier class deploys fighter craft that can operate independently. Our dreadnought class is designed for fleet-level engagements. A new voice spoke from the upper galleries. It was the Keeper Observer, an ancient being that rarely participated in council debates. When they spoke, everyone listened. Captain Doyen, I have studied your species since you achieved faster than light travel. I have a question that others may be afraid to ask. Why does humanity build such powerful weapons? You are a young species, newly arrived in the galactic community. What drives this militarization? Doyen was quiet for a moment, considering his response. This was not a question about tactics or technology. This was about philosophy, about who humans were. Observer, humanity's history is written in conflict. For thousands of years we fought each other. Wars over resources, territory, ideology. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. We learned hard lessons about survival. And those lessons? That strength prevents conflict. That preparation saves lives. That hoping for peace while preparing for war is wiser than hoping for peace while being unprepared. We came to the stars knowing we were small and weak compared to established civilizations. So we built ships that could defend themselves. We trained crews to fight outnumbered. We developed weapons that could level the battlefield. The Keeper's form shifted, colors flowing across their translucent body. You prepare for war with the galaxy? No, Observer. We prepare for war with anyone who threatens humanity. We hope that preparation will never be needed, but we refuse to be helpless. We refuse to depend on others for our survival. A harsh philosophy, perhaps, but it kept us alive long enough to reach the stars. Threll stepped forward again. Captain Doyen, the Council must now discuss Earth's status in the galactic community. Your actions during the battle have earned recognition, but there are concerns about a heavily armed species joining our civilization. Doyen nodded. I understand, Ambassador. If the Council wishes to place restrictions on Earth, we will consider them. But understand this, we will not disarm. We will not make ourselves vulnerable. If that means we cannot join the galactic community, then we will stand alone. You would isolate yourselves rather than compromise on military strength? We would maintain our ability to defend ourselves, yes. Ambassador, I mean no disrespect, but 3 days ago most of this council was laughing at us. They thought one human ship was a joke. Now you ask us to limit our military because that same ship frightened you. We will not make ourselves weak to make others comfortable. The bluntness of the statement shocked many delegates. Species did not speak so directly in council sessions. Diplomacy required careful phrasing, subtle implications, and political maneuvering. But Doyen was not a diplomat. He was a military officer who had just fought a desperate battle. He spoke the truth as he saw it. Threll's expression was difficult to read, but something like respect flickered in his eyes. Captain, I believe I speak for many when I say we do not wish to limit human military development. Rather, we wish to understand it, to work with it. The battle proved that human tactics can teach the galaxy new ways of fighting. Perhaps human philosophy can teach us new ways of thinking. The Keeper spoke again. Captain Doyen, I propose something different. Rather than restrictions, I suggest integration. Earth should join the Galactic Defense Council. Your ships should coordinate with galactic fleets. Your tactics should be shared and studied. In exchange, Earth gains full council membership, trade rights, and access to galactic technology. This was unexpected. Full council membership was rarely offered to new species. It usually took decades, even centuries, to achieve that status. Doyen glanced at Lieutenant Jiwan, who stood just off-screen. She nodded slightly, indicating approval. Observer, I am not authorized to accept such an offer on behalf of Earth, but I will transmit your proposal to my government. I believe they will be interested. That is acceptable. The Council will await Earth's response. Threll addressed the Assembly. Are there any objections to the Keeper's proposal? Silence. No delegate spoke against it. Some looked nervous, others excited, but none objected. The human demonstration had been too impressive to ignore. Then it is decided. Earth is invited to join the Galactic Council pending acceptance of the proposal. This session is adjourned. The holographic connection ended. Doyen stood on his bridge, surrounded by his crew. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Jiho started clapping. Others joined in. Soon the entire bridge crew was applauding, celebrating not just survival, but recognition. We did it, Jiwan said quietly. One ship changed everything. One ship and one crew, Doyen corrected. This was not my achievement alone. Every person on this vessel contributed. Sora looked up from her communication station. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from Earth. Admiral Minsu wants to speak with you. Put him through. The display activated, showing Admiral Minsu sitting in his office back on Earth. The old man had probably not slept since the battle began. His face showed pride and exhaustion in equal measure. Captain Doyen, I have read the reports. Well done, thank you, sir. The Council has made an offer. I know. The Keeper contacted Earth directly an hour ago. The government is already discussing it. Personally, I think we should accept. Permission to speak freely, sir. Always, Captain. If we accept, we will be expected to share our technology and tactics. Other species will learn from us. The advantage we demonstrated in this battle will diminish. Minsu nodded. True, but consider the alternative. We stay isolated, keep our secrets, and make enemies of those we frightened. Or we join the community, share our knowledge, and gain allies. Which future do you think gives humanity better odds of survival? Doyen had not considered it that way. He had been focused on maintaining military advantage. But the Admiral was right. Strength meant nothing if you stood alone against everyone. I understand, sir. For what it is worth, I recommend acceptance. Your opinion carries weight, Captain. You are a hero now, whether you like it or not. The crew of the Taiwan has become famous across the galaxy. The crew did their duty, nothing more. Minsu smiled, spoken like a true officer. Come home, Captain. Bring your ship and your crew back to Earth. You have earned a rest. Yes, sir. We will depart as soon as repairs are complete. The transmission ended. Doyen looked around his damaged bridge at his tired crew, at the stars visible through the viewport. They had left Earth as unknowns, dismissed as insignificant. They had fought a battle that should have destroyed them. They had survived through skill, determination, and the simple refusal to surrender. And now the galaxy knew. Humanity had arrived, not with thousands of ships or ancient technology or overwhelming numbers, but with courage, ingenuity, and the stubborn insistence that one ship crewed by dedicated people could make a difference. The Taiwan turned toward home, escorted by alien vessels that now flew as allies rather than strangers. The journey would take weeks. There would be time to rest, to repair, to process everything that had happened. But for now, in this moment, the crew of the Taiwan allowed themselves to feel pride. They had faced the impossible and prevailed. They had represented their species before the galaxy, and had not been found wanting. The galaxy had laughed when humans sent one ship. Now it watched with respect as that ship headed home, battered but unbroken, having proven that sometimes one ship is all you need.